Welcome to tutorial 13 of the Gray to Green Infrastructure tool. In this video, we will go over selecting LID practices. Once you've entered the site information, amount of precipitation, and selected the storm design, you can begin selecting LID practices. First, click the Roof Runoff button on the Setup tab. This will open a new tab called Roof Runoff. This contains features that allow you to select LID practices while calculating the runoff volume and pollutant load reductions. At the top of the page, you will see infographics labeled Roof Runoff, Parking Runoff, and Previous Runoff. These are the three areas that we will focus on as far as capturing stormwater. To the right of these three graphics, you'll see a number of really useful buttons. Most of these were covered in previous tutorials, so make sure to check out tutorials 11 and 12 to get a feel for these tools and their functions. Below the three graphics is a section explaining how to best select LID practices. Take some time to read this before jumping straight into making selections. The tables on the left are for calculating runoff volume and pollutant load reductions for the different LID practices. The first half of the table is for LID practices that are installed directly at the source, in this case the roof, and the second half of the table is for LID practices installed within 10 to 50 feet from buildings. To learn more about the different LID practices, you can hover over a cell to see a quick description, or you can click on the name of the practice for a full description of the benefits. The different columns in the table include the LID practice column. This is where we describe the Green Infrastructure Best Management Practices, or LIDs, which you can choose from. The next one is Potential Area for LID Practice. This is the potential area within your site where you can place certain LID practices. This is based on either the siting information outputs from mapping your green infrastructure and impervious areas in GIS, or it's from your own estimates entered manually into the scenario analysis tool. Next is Potential Area. These are the sliding bars that allow you to increase or decrease the percent of potential area dedicated to a certain LID practice. So sliding the bar will automatically change the results for the volume and pollutant load columns. The percentage column displays the percentage of potential area you've selected using the sliding bars. Number of units basically means the approximate amount of certain LID practices that correspond to the percentage selected. Area selected for practice is the column that shows the area used by a certain LID practice based on the percentage selected. The volume column shows the volume of rainwater collected by LID practice based on the percentage you selected, and you can change the unit using the drop-down menu at the top of the table. The default is acres feet. The value in the cell immediately below the drop-down menu is the total volume of water that must be controlled. The pollutant load columns show the amount of pollutant load reduction in pounds for each LID practice based on the percentage of area selected. So it's broken down into the following categories: total suspended solids, TSS, which is the dry weight of particles obtained when filtering water. There's also total phosphorus in stormwater, known as TP, and then the total nitrate in the stormwater, which we call nitrate here. These values in the three cells immediately below the three pollutant types are the pollutant loads generated by your project for the selected storm event, and this is what you need to control. I'd like to point out the graphs on the right, which correspond to your choices in LID practices on the left. So as you slide the bars and increase or decrease certain LID practice areas, you're going to see corresponding changes in the graphs. Below those graphs is another chart explaining the LID practices and their ecosystem benefits. Remember that your goal is to get your stormwater, pollutant load, and volume load down to 0 or negative numbers in the red sections of your charts on the left. To summarize, you can use the sliding bars to adjust the area occupied by certain LID practices. You want to watch for changes in water volume and pollutant load control in the red areas of the LID tables, as well as the bar graphs and the measles chart on the right side of the setup page. You can learn more about LID practices and their benefits by hovering or clicking on an LID name, or by looking at the measles chart in the bottom right hand. Make sure to check out the user guide for more information on the process of selecting LID practices, because there's some really good descriptions of how to use best management practices and adaptive management to really select the right LID practices that are most practical but also complement each other. Again, you want to treat stormwater not as a nuisance, but as a resource. Thank you for listening to this tutorial, and please check out our other video tutorials, especially those related to the scenario analysis tool, since those apply directly to a lot of the things we discussed in this video.